Hey, hello everyone. It's Cheryl from Tinker's Cart Art, and I'm here to do a little painting with you guys today. It's my segment for Craft Round the Clock, and it's also here on my Tinker's Cart Art page. So welcome everyone. Thank you guys for popping in. We're going to paint some cute little pumpkin Christmas ornament shapes, but we're going to make them for Halloween. We're going to turn them into something for Halloween. So I'm so glad that you're here. Say hello when you come in. I see you guys popping in. And if you have any questions as we go, I'm here to answer those for you. And Tarita, thank you for watching. Hi, thanks for popping in. For some reason, today seems like Saturday to me. I'm all mixed up. I don't know why it seems like a Saturday morning, but it is Thursday, right? So I'm going to pull you guys up on my page. So really ask any questions as you go along. Even if it's about a different painting project, doesn't have to be specifically what we're working on today. I do teach beginner and intermediate and advanced acrylic painting, which I love to do, especially with absolute beginners. So if you're more of a crafter and you want to learn a little bit about painting, I'm here for you. And so I have a lot of these Christmas. They're like a ceramic bisque ornament. They're just left from last Christmas. I usually paint them with Christmassy things. I've got snowmen, but I thought today it might be fun to paint them as pumpkins because they're round and they would suit fine for that. So I buy them as bisque. They're just ceramic bisque. They come with the little gold caps that you just slip on after you paint. And I've base coated some already. I base coated some in orange. I've got a yellow one here. I don't know if you saw my painted gnome painting, but I love the way the man in the moon came out on that. So I think I'll paint one as the man in the moon, which is kind of fun. Paint some pumpkin faces, and I'll show you step by step how to do that. So good morning. Hi, Kathy. Thanks for watching. And like I said, I'm here, and it's nice to see everybody popping in. Good morning, Charlotte and Cindy. How you guys? I'm going to watch here best I can as I'm working. And if I don't get to your question, if you ask one and I don't acknowledge it, please know that I'll come back after. I always go back and answer any questions that you have. I also have this on my page. It's also on the Craft Round the Clock page. You can always go and watch the replay. So don't worry about, missing a part or painting along. You can always just watch right now. Hi, Penny and Jennifer. Thanks, you guys. I love to see you popping in. I love to see where you're from. So if you don't mind giving me an idea where you're from, I'm getting to know a lot of you and where you're from. So it's nice as a little refresher for me. How I prepared already today, just to get things going, is I just painted the ornaments with an acrylic background. I put 2 or 3 coats because it's yellow and orange, and those acrylic colors tend to be transparent. I put a few coats. Tarita, I did not paint my glasses. I love these glasses. They're from Zenni's, and Zenni Optical is a great site I buy my glasses on because you can get prescription glasses there online, and the prices are great, so I can buy different pairs of funky glasses and not spend a lot of money. So it's Zenni Optical. Hey, Mary, welcome. So to balance these guys, because they're going to roll all around the table, I took some little paper cups and I just cut the bottoms off. I didn't even worry about doing it like even, so it just holds them. There's all sorts of things. Roll of tape, something. You could always find something to set them in, but this worked well for me right now. Oh, Tarita, Oregon, nice. And I like to, like I said, I like to hear where people are from. So all I did was cut the base of those little paper plastic cups off and use them to hold my Christmas balls, but they're going to be Halloween today. And I just base coated, like I said, with a couple coats. You can use your craft paint. You can use, I also love the Liquitex, the heavy body, the tubed paints. But like I said, if you have the craft paints, that's what I use. And I'm a big proponent of just use what you have. I don't have to have you run out and buy all of the right materials. Just get started with whatever brushes you have, whatever paint you might have hanging around, and jump right in and paint. And you can always add all the colors and all the things later. All right, so I'm going to I have sketches. I usually make sketches and get some ideas of what I'm painting. I look up some images. I've got some photos on my iPad here. I just gather some inspiration. I love to keep a notebook. It's great, you guys, for inspiration, just jotting down ideas, jotting down pictures. You could put swatches of color in here. You could put little, if you see something in a magazine or whatnot, it's a great little book to keep with you, just to sketch and keep track of your ideas, and it really helps you come up with new things to paint all the time. So I'm going to give myself a little sketch, but I know when I paint pumpkins, and I've been painting lots of them. I don't know if you saw this project the other day. These are very simple little pumpkins. That's basically what we're going to do. We're going to just get those little lines around the pumpkin that sort of make it look like it's got that shape of pumpkins. And we just shade a little bit in there, highlight between those, give it shape, and then we're just going to paint some fun faces on there. Renee, it's great because you know what? With the site, you can put a photo of yourself and then you can try all the glasses on yourself. It's really cool. They've been wonderful. I've recommended them to friends and things, and I feel like I'm a spokesman. I'm really not. But I just got a little tired of paying so much for glasses and then getting tired of them. I like to switch them out a lot. And they have some really cool styles and sunglasses and all that. But so what I'm going to do is I'm not even going to sketch my lines. I'm going to paint those little lines on, and then I'm going to maybe sketch on my facial features, but I'm going to at least just start with the lines. And I'm going to set my little man in the moon over here. If we have time, we will paint him up as well. And I'm trying to watch, like I said, I'm trying to watch the comments, but sometimes they're getting by me. But so please don't worry, I will answer any questions, but I do love for you to pop in and say hello, so thank you. And I'm going to get a little bit of a shadow color. So since I have an orange pumpkin here, I'm going to use my round, it's just a synthetic brush. It's not an expensive brush. Just take care of them and they will last you. And I want to get just a little bit of a wash for those brown lines. And to do that, I'm rinsing my brush. I don't know if I want to make sure you can kind of almost see my palette too. So I'm just getting some water on my brush. I'm going into like a dark brown. I'm just going to actually mix up. I've got like a burnt sienna, which is that red brown, a little black. And I'm doing it kind of washy because I don't want a harsh line. So I'm going to just go down and I'm just going to start on my pumpkin and I'm just going to make a line down towards the center of the bottom. So it's pretty easy. I'm just going to go around, and they are tricky because you're trying to hold them and they're round and you don't want to put your hand in the paint, but just do the best you can. I'm going to just hold it by the little top and I'm just going to divide this up. Now, you could certainly go ahead and sketch those lines on so you've got them just right. I'm not worried about them being perfect. I'm just going to get them on there. But if you wish, you could take a little piece of chalk, sketch on anything you want. It's very easy to cover with your paint and it wipes away easily. So that really is a little, chalk is a good thing to have in your little painting kit too. So what I want to do now is just get these little indents of the ridges painting. You can almost see how watery that paint is. And what I'm going to do now is I'm just drying my brush on my paper towel. I'm going to soften the line a little bit. Because it's wet, I can soften it a little bit and make it not so harsh. It's just a little blended. So I'm just moving that little wet paint around with the dry brush. Can you see how I keep drying my brush off on my paper towel? I want to keep that as a dry brush. And I've got my little lines. I'm going to do that on both of them so we can paint two different faces on our guys. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to take a dry brush afterwards and just smooth out that line a little bit so it's not so harsh. Using a watered down paint like this also makes it so you don't have such a harsh line. It's a little soft just because of the water in there. It's almost like a watercolor consistency. And I'm going to go right around doing the same thing. And can you see I'm not really worrying too much about them being spaced perfectly or the lines being the same size. This is going to be a fun, whimsical little decoration. It's not going to be anything that we have to worry about it being perfect. And you know what? This is a handcrafted thing, so it wouldn't be perfect. Let's not strive for perfection. That's just setting yourself up to be annoyed and stressed. So we just want to have a fun, little cute ornament that we can use for Halloween. I know a lot of people have Halloween trees now and decorate it like that, which is kind of fun for all the holidays. So I want to make it look like it's a little bit three-dimensional. So to do that, now we've got our shadow there. We're going to get a little bit of a lighter shade in the middle. One nice thing about these ceramic ornaments is the paint dries pretty quick. So how I get a bit of a lighter area here is I'm just going to I'm going to use my flat brush this time. I'm going to go in. I have the colors that I used to base coat, the yellow and the orange there. And I want to just re-wet a little bit of the orange because I want to get a lighter shade there. You could do this in sections if you were working a little slower. You could do this in sections. So do maybe 3 little sections and just kind of put on a quick little bit of that orange that we base coated. And then I'm just going to go into, I have like a yellow, and I'm just going to brush that on top of the orange. Oops. And soften that in. What I'm after is the dark shadows in the little indents in the grooves, and then the part that's closer to you that's bumped out is a little lighter, and you'll start to see it's going to start appearing. Can you see the difference, how flat that looks? Then we're going to start making it look a little bit of a highlight in the middle. Hey Jill, hey Judy, thank you guys for watching. It's a bit of a wet and wet technique, and I'm using two techniques here, and I'm going to explain that. When I'm painting with acrylics, acrylics dry fast, but I still like to get the look I get when I'm oil painting. I want to be able to blend those colors a little bit and not work so hard. So I either use a wash technique, which you saw me do in those little indents, and then I also use a wet and wet technique, which is when I've got the paint a little wet underneath or next to something, and then I use those two wet paints to blend together. And it creates dimension, and it's nice to get, and the dimension is created when you get lights and darks, and it just kind of fools your eye into thinking that it's a different shape than it really is. It could be a flat pumpkin painted on a canvas, and you've got these highlights and shadows, and then it's going to appear as 3D. This is a 3D object, but we want it to appear to have the bumps in the shape of a pumpkin. So I'm filling in a little bit of that orange in between my dark lines, and then I'm just taking a little, while it's wet, that's the orange is a little wet, tacky here. If I put that yellow right on top, and I like to keep my brush dry to blend, so I dry my brush off, and then I start softening it. And you can do this in stages and build it up as bright as you want in the middle there. And you see how I put the paint on, it looks a little streaky, but if I want to, with a dry brush to finesse that and just soften it, does the trick. And I'm going to go around now and just get it a little brighter. The little areas, the little bumps of the pumpkin that are actually coming closest to you are the brightest. So I will go back and in the very middle start getting it a little even brighter. And do remember, when you're painting something like this, look at how close I'm painting. Step back, even if it's an ornament or if it's a big painting, step back, because you're not going to really see the effect until you really get some distance. And remember that the viewer of your objects is not going to look at them this close and notice every little detail. So give yourself a little grace and know that it doesn't have to be, nor would you want it to be perfect. Can you see? I know there's a little glare from the lights, but you can see it's getting a little lighter. I would even at this point take that gold I'm using or a lighter yellow, mix a little white, so I can get one step lighter. So I've got my orange overall, a little burnt sienna, burnt umber, wash for the dark, and then my yellow highlight. But now to get just one little step higher, I would probably go ahead, and I'm getting a yellow mixed with a little white here. I'm going to go right down the middle. I know that's very bold, but just dry off your brush and soften that in. Is it starting to look, it's hard for me to see in the camera, but is it starting to look a little bit three-dimensional now? I think so. Hey Deb, thanks for watching, you guys. And so I'm going to do that. It is more like in the very middle of your sections, just a little bit of a highlight. Don't have a lot of paint on my brush. I don't want to have a big blob of that color. I want a little bit, and in that little bit put on, my brush is pretty much dry now by applying that, but if I need to, I can just dab it on my paper towel. And I'm going to go right around. The paint underneath is pretty dry, but I've got the tiniest bit of that light yellow on my brush. I'm really almost scumbling that on and then softening it. And now I'm back to my beginning here. So that looks much more like a pumpkin now, doesn't it, than that. So I'm going to do this one now too, so you can see me do that again, just in case you're popping on now or you just want to see it done again. It's sometimes nice to see things, you know, a second time. I'm going to rinse off my brush. I've already put on my little brown lines. Hey Karen, hey Terry, thank you guys for popping in. I love to see all my familiar faces. And Wanda, hello, and welcome. Art and Grace, thank you. It's hard for me to tell what it looks like sometimes because I'm, you know, looking at it in the camera. So we've got the base coat of orange, same color orange I'm just going on with. And I'm just going to put it in the middle of those little sections. And I think I will just do a few at a time because this paint is drying a little quickly on my little ornament. So I've got a little quick base coat, just a little bit of, you know, a little bit of orange on there. Dry off my brush. Go into that goldy yellow I had, right down the middle. Soften it in. It's almost like the orange underneath is very wet, so it's really blending well. It's blending almost by itself. But I do want to bring that color so you do see it, so I will go back a little bit and brighten it like I did. But let's just do the sections this way first. A little orange and a little of that yellow gold in the center of it. I have 3 more little sections that are dry, so I'm going to re-wet with the orange. I'm not worrying about if I hit the little dark line or anything. Let's not be that particular. And again, this is difficult only because they're a weird shape and trying to hold them from here. Sometimes I would put them in a pencil and hold them like that. Find out what works for you. Hey, Carolyn and Deanna, thank you guys for watching. I've got, again, my little orange bits. Dry off my brush, pick up that golden yellow, and just get that, oh, my little cup is sticking there, right in the middle of those sections. Just to give it a little blend. Can you see 2 colors, wet and wet, really blend nicely? All right, so there's the first go round. It's looking a little bit more dimensional, but I want to finish up with just that little bit of a brighter yellow on top. And just dry off that brush. Philip Gray is watching. Hey, Philip, how are you? Philip is one of the most extreme plein air painters you will see. If you go and follow him, you will see him actually painting where, Philip? Everywhere. Underwater. You are amazing. I miss seeing you guys. Haven't been over to Ireland since before pandemic, but soon, I'm going to have to get over there. I miss all of our fun times. All right, so let's get a little bit of that light yellow now with some white. And I'm just going to go right in the middle of these little sections. Just go right down the middle. Get a little swab on there. Dry off your brush and soften it. Starting to appear pumpkin-like. And I know it's all things pumpkin these days with me. I will do Christmas and some more fall soon. And if anyone wants to see the little snowmen painted, let me know, and I'll do a segment on that as well. I'm putting that on there, and then I can go back with that dry brush and soften it in as much as I want to. Dry it off. Even if the paint looks a little dry, you can still move it. Now, if for some reason you put it on and you're working a little slower, and the paint all dries, what do? Take a little of your orange that you started with and use that to move it around. You get some nice effects that way too. Starting to look like a pumpkin, guys. And now I just got these little 3 sections on the back. I've got my orange there. I put my gold on. Going with that light yellow just in the middle more. In those sections. Looking a little white, so if it does, you could just add a little more gold in there. And this is the one I'm missing over here, right there. So I get the paint on there, and then with the dry brush, I finesse it the way I want it to go. And there we have it. We have 2 little pumpkins ready for faces. If you've put that wash on of brown in the beginning and you've sort of lost it now, it's really watery, nothing says you can't go back with a little bit of watered down brown again and deepen it up if you need to. These seem like they're pretty much okay, but if you needed to, you could go right down the center again with that and just get it really dark in there if you'd like. Oh, good morning, Dee. Hi, how are you? Morning, it's almost noon, but good morning. And hey, Cynthia, thanks for watching. And Loretta. Oh, you're in Minnesota from Washington watching. Aren't you good? You're traveling and watching. I do the same thing. It's nice to see you here. Thank you. Hey, and good morning, Deanna. Thank you guys all. I really appreciate you popping in. I love it when you, chat a little bit and let me know what you're working on and where you're working from and all that fun stuff. So we've got a good bit of time still. So we're going to do our faces here, and then we're going to try to get some man on the moon face on this yellow one. So good morning, Victoria. Thank you for watching too. Okay, you can, like I said, use a little bit of chalk or pencil to get your lines on. Chalk is nice because it erases so easily. You don't have to be a slave to trying to get it exactly filled in. And you could do ordinary little pumpkin faces if you'd like, just the typical little triangles and squiggly mouth. I have done some paint. Oh, this one right here. I don't know if you can see it. I'm going to pop it off the wall. You can do something with all kinds of funny faces. I might do something a little more like that on this one. I'm going to leave that here for a sample. Or you can get something like my man the moon, and it looks really like a carved dimensional face. So let's just start with placing some features on there. And I think I'm going to go ahead and use my painting as a reference here. And we start, it's very easy. And like I said, if you make a mistake, you just erase this and then you just start again. So don't worry at all. Hey Deb, thanks for watching from Texas. And Jackie, I'm going to just sketch on those little triangle eyes to start. Actually, no, I like the eyes on these pumpkins in the painting, and some of those are round and some of those are looking to the side. Let's do something like that, and we'll do the little triangle noses. So I've got all sorts of shapes on there. So I've got some that look like this, and I'm going to sketch it and I'll hold it up and show you, so no worries. And I just did do triangle mouths on them. And then sometimes I gave little teeth, and sometimes I did give him that crazy little zigzaggy mouth. But I kind of like the ones with teeth, so let's just try that for fun. And what I fashioned these after a little bit are those old vintage paper mache pumpkins and little trick-or-treat buckets that people used, mid-century kind of looking things. They're so fun. So let's sketch two of those faces here. And I'm going to make some different eyes on them. Oh, I've got some creepy eyes on that one. Or some big round opened eyes are fun, like they're surprised. So let's do a big circle like this. I am sort of centering their faces a little bit over the line, but I'm not really worrying too much where that is. Isn't it funny on the camera? I'm all over the place. There we are. And a mouth. So this guy had like a little mouth of teeth. You can make just an O, and it looks like they're either singing or yelling. You can make something like that for their noses. For their mouths. I'm going to do one of these, like a little yelling mouth, sort of. Hi, Ellie. How are you? We miss you in Maine. But it's nice to be able to catch up with people here on camera. So we're going to go painting over the orange for these features, which means white eyes. Going to need a few coats to cover. The orange is a little darker. So I'm going to just go ahead with some white paint and just put in their eyes for now. I'll probably let it dry and do a couple coats. Now, the thing about multiple coats, because acrylics many times need 2 or 3 coats, don't rush it. Don't try to put the paint on too thick just to get it to cover. Use nice thin coats. Let it dry well in between, and then put your next coat on. And in the end, it will work better. If you are putting on the second coat too soon and the paint's wet underneath, you're really just pulling the color off. So you don't want to do that. You can have your heat gun or your hair dryer handy. I have one right here somewhere. If we need it, we can do that. I do find it's drying pretty quick on these little ornaments though. And the ornaments, they're just a bisque ceramic ornament. You might be able to find them if you have like a ceramic shop near you, or one of those paint your own pottery places. They might have them. I do have a link in my description for my link tree, and that gives you all of my social accounts and everything if you want to follow me. Or, I'm on YouTube with some free tutorials. My texting number is there if you want to text. I will let you know when I'm going live to paint. But I also have a shopping tab, and I did find some of these on Amazon. So if you have trouble finding them, check out that tab or simply send me a message. I can always guide you to where I get some of my materials. If you're stuck where you are and you can't find them, just direct message me, and I can certainly let you know what... where I find what I find, because I'm always painting on something crazy. So, oh, Cynthia, oh, the Scarecrow in the Truck this weekend, great, let me know. That's a fun painting. I've been meaning to package that up. I have a series of the old vintage trucks everyone loves. I have one with a scarecrow driving it, one with a witch for Halloween, one with a snowman, and it's a 3-series set of classes that I've recorded. And if that's of interest, I'll be up on my page soon with a link to purchase those 3 classes. Just for I think I'm going to do like $15 for the 3 of them, and you can watch them anytime. So I'll get that up on my page as well. So do follow me, and you'll see all the cool things I'm doing. And Jackie's watching from Michigan. Deb, my Art and Grace. Okay, cool, from Texas. Yeah, one state I have not been to yet. Well, there's more than one, but that's one I do want to travel to. So I've got my eyeballs painted. I'm going to put one more coat of the white. These little ornaments are about 2.5 inches. They also make them bigger. I just happen to have these. And because people do have those little trees all year long for different holidays, you can certainly make this into, you know, you could paint something for any holiday on a little ornament, and it would be a nice addition to your tree. I may, when I'm done, I put the little gold caps on, and I may actually tie a little raffia or a little gold, orange and yellow ribbons on there. I'm not sure yet. I have a lot of that handy. I'm not sure what that's going to look like. And I'll show you how I treat these afterwards as well. And so with the little noses, sometimes I don't do them just always black. It looks a little like a black hole. It's not bad for those tiny pumpkins on the little thing I showed you, but if it's a little more detailed, I want to make the noses green sometimes. I do them red sometimes. This I'm doing green, but I don't know if you can see, but it's so transparent. Oops. I'm going to just base coat it with a little white first, and then the green will really show up nicer. So that's another trick. If there's a color that's transparent when you're trying to cover something, just base coat it in white first, maybe a coat or two, and then when you put your color that was a little too transparent on, it will cover. Or even add a little white to that color, and it will just make it a little more opaque for you. I'm going to do a red nose. Those little vintage mid-century paper mache kind of fun decorations for Halloween had a lot of red noses. They outline the mouths in red, sometimes the eyes. It just seemed to be a thing. So I'm going to do this nose red. And I think I'm going to outline their mouths in red too, and then fill them in black so that I can give them little white scary teeth. So let me just do that. I'm just going to thin down. I've got just a little synthetic brush, a little round. I'm going to thin down my red a bit only because when I'm doing a detailed bit of my painting, I thin my paint down so it flows a little more like ink and isn't quite so thick. So I've just a tad of water to my red here. And I'm just outlining that mouth. It does not have to be perfect because we're going to fill that in black. So if the red's too thick or it's out of shape, we can just fix it with the black that we're going to fill inside. So I really just got a little red nose, a little red outline on the mouth, a couple of coats of white on the eye, and you can see my chalk is showing, but I don't worry about that. That will erase right off. So we're not worried about that at all. I'm going to go back to this little guy and outline his mouth in red too. His is more of just a circle. Not a perfect circle, kind of a ovally circle. Because again, we're not striving for perfection. We just want a fun, whimsical little guy. I'm going to go back now and do my green nose since that little base coat has dried. I'll probably do this whole face using this little detail brush. It's just a little size 1 round. And let's just make a little green nose, a little triangle there. And I'll probably outline that with something after too. So there we are. I'm going to put one more coat of white on their eyes because it's just a little see-through. I see my orange through there still. There, that's covering up nicely. And I'm just doing a quick second coat. I'm not being real careful. I'm just putting that on there. We can have fun eyes with them. We can have green eyes, blue eyes. I like to do something colorful. But again, that's your preference. This is where you guys make these little things I paint your own. You add your own touches. Do not be worried about copying exactly what I do because it's so much more fun to make it your own and have it a little different, experiment. All right, so we've got the features pretty much put in there. I'm going to fill in their mouths with the black paint. And when that dries, I'm going to give them little crazy teeth. Is everybody painting Halloween and fall now? I feel like I'm almost late now for Christmas. I've got to really start that. And I know that is going to come quickly. And there's so many fun little things that we can paint. I like to paint on lots of things besides just canvas, which I paint a lot of, but I'm always scouting the dollar store or Target or the flea markets, the yard sales for anything unusual that you could actually put paint on. So remember, it doesn't have to just be canvas. You could paint on slate and on fabric and all sorts of fun things. So keep your eyes peeled when you're out and about, and you will come across some pretty cool things to paint on. Where are we? We're right at noon with 15 more minutes. Don't know if we'll get our man in the moon painted, but if we don't, I will paint him up and on live another time, and you can watch. And if, like I said, my texting number is there in the description. If you want to get a little heads up on when I go live to paint, just send me a little text, and I'll put you on the list. I appreciate it if you follow me. Oh, hey, Debbie. Nice to meet you, too, and thank you for watching. I've watched some of your segments. You ladies are so crafty. I'm so lucky to be on this Craft Around the Clock site and for my Tinker's Cart art people. If you have not caught it, check it out. It's daily crafters from early morning to evening. Everybody crafting something different, and it's so fun. And I'm going to learn how to tie bows and do all the crafty things watching you guys. It's so fun, and I appreciate you popping in and saying hello. I'm going to paint some eyeballs now. I'm going to give one blue eyes and one, I think we'll go with green eyes. So this little guy with the green nose is going to get blue eyes. And I'm thinning, paint's been sitting out, even though it's only been about half an hour, the paint's been sitting out. I add a few drops of water to thin it down as we go. And this guy's going to have like little eyeballs in the middle of that white area. So he looks a little surprised or scared. With it, you know what's really fun is painting faces and caricatures. Look up some, caricature or facial expressions, and you'll get a whole little chart of all different ways you could just change the eyes and especially the eyebrows and get all kinds of expressions. It's so much fun. So he's just going to look a little shocked. Hey, Josh, thanks for popping in. Are you going to be in Maine this weekend? I'm going to head up right when my segment's over. And I am just back from Halloween Horror Nights, and I know you just went, so we'll have to compare notes because I had such a good time. It was so fun. That's at Universal Studios, and I loved. I love Halloween. Halloween's my favorite, so I do all the Halloween things. I'm mixing up a little bit of green and yellow. I want kind of a lime green for the eyes of this guy. And I'm just mixing it up with a little water just to make it flow a little easier. And this guy, it's fun. You can make their eyeballs looking anywhere, both looking up to the side, down, whatever. Let's do something with him looking to the side, which means you would just put them both sort of placed the same way to the right on the little eyeball that we painted. Now we're just painting in the irises. We're going to have him looking over. Let's see. He's looking over to the left. I paint the irises first, and again, if it needs 2 coats, I can do that. Then we'll paint a little black pupil in there. And I'm going to give a quick little bit of green back on his nose, and I'm going to outline that nose in red as well. So I've got that red I've used, and I'm just simply outlining. Now, if this little detail work sometimes is a little difficult, remember you could use a paint marker for this too. The paint markers are fabulous. They have paint in the barrel. You shake them up and you can hear the paint mixed up, and you could use those little markers as well in a project like this if you wanted to. Doesn't always have to be, worried about using a fine brush. Their eyes and their eyebrows. So he's going to have eyebrows that are like kind of a little arched, so that kind of follows the look of being a little surprised. And they're just going to be little arched eyebrows. So he's going to be looking a little surprised. And I'm going to just put a little circle of black in the middle of his pupils there. He's got his eyebrows. I'm going to outline his eyes. Maybe since I've got the black on my brush, I think I'll outline his eyes in black. If we have time, and especially on a bigger item, I might shade around these features with a little watery brown like we did for the lines to make them look like they're popping out. Yeah, we may or may not do that, but that's another thought too. Thin brush, thin line, thin paint, and I'm just doing a thin line around his eyes. Got my readers on because honestly, I think my eyesight's getting worse. You can make eyelashes too if you wanted to. What his eyes need, and all eyes, if you're making, painting animals and painting people, you have to put that little white highlight. It brings their eyes alive. Just simply dotting with the end of my brush. You could use a toothpick. You could use the back end of your brush if it's tiny. You don't always have to paint it on. It's just a little dot of white. The trick is to make it in the same spot on each eye. So if you're doing, I did mine like at 2 o'clock, say, if you've got that little highlight at 2 o'clock, keep it at 2 o'clock. And if you did opposite, it would be kind of crazy, and it would be Marty Feldman looking with those crazy eyes, which could be fun too. So it's not like you have to, you know, do it that way. But if you are painting a real cat, a real person or animal, you kind of want to keep them in the same direction. Hi, Wendy. Thanks for watching. Thank you, guys. Linda from Connecticut, my neighbor to the south, because I'm in Massachusetts right now. I live in Mass, and I travel to Maine a lot, so I'll head up there later. But you are my neighbor there. I'm going to give him little teeth. I'm taking the white paint. I'm not thinning it down like I've been doing for the details, because I want to blob those little teeth on and not have to go back and do a second coat. I don't mind if they have a little texture. And he could just have I'm only just dabbing a little white line. I'm not really worrying about forming teeth. They're going to read as teeth. I'm not going to go all the way around the mouth. I'm just going to start and put some in. So it's a little bit creepy. Maybe he's too creepy, but now showing that to you on the camera, you can see that looks like my little brown lines are a little washy. Now, I don't see that sort of thing a lot of times until I see it on the camera. So that's a tip. If you're painting, whether it's a big landscape, a fancy painting, a little craft painting, something looks off to you, take a picture of it or hold it up in a mirror, and then you sort of see some little things that you might want to address. But it's a nice way to kind of fool your eye into looking at it subjectively. And so because that seems a little bit, that one stripe seems a little faded, I'm just taking a little wash of the brown and just deepening it up a little bit. Again, he could have little eyelashes. You could, add more things, but that's how I'm leaving this little one. This little guy looks like he's in pain, but let's see what we can do. I've got his green eyes. I'm going to put in the pupils, probably a little bigger on this guy. He's got bigger eyes. And again, you could simply back end of the brush into the paint and just dab those in. That really ensures a nice round pupil. And depending on the size of the back end of the brush, you've got a nice little round dot for a pupil. And I am going to outline him in black too, because I want to get the top of, I've got a little black spot there, which I will clean up. So if you do get a little spot, I got a little bit of black from my finger or something on the side, you could just wipe it with a wet paper towel, a wet brush. If it's dry, just put a little alcohol. Wipe that off. It will come off for you with a little alcohol. So he's got these funny eyes here. He's kind of looking a little bewildered, I guess. And like I said, you get one of those charts. Just go online, Google facial expressions or animated facial expressions. You'll get some charts, and just start sketching some little sketches and see if you change the eyebrows, what happens. If you change the eyelids, what happens. It's really a fun way to play around and practice. And I'm outlining just the eye that we did in black. And he's got a little eyelid. He could have this guy could have a littler eyebrow. He might not need a big, thick one like we did for the other guy. I'm going to outline his nose in black since we're there with the outlining. So he's coming along. He's going to have some teeth. You could put a tongue sticking out. You could do whatever you want. You are the boss of your project, right? So you can do whatever you want. There's no right or wrongs. This is the best thing about art. There's no right or wrong. We're just going to have fun. See what we come up with. Again, the paint I'm using for the teeth is the white paint. It is a little thick. I'm sort of dabbing it on, and it's thick enough that I don't need to go back and do a second coat. And I almost don't mind. I like that it is a little bit textured, really. So here's my guy's little teeth. The nose is kind of big, and it's red. So I think I will take and just add a little bit of orange maybe in there. It just looks so big. I want just something in the middle, just as a little, I don't know if you can see that. I just dabbed a little orange into that red, just so it's not like just I don't want to say a black hole, but just a solid. I like to give a little shading and highlighting to most things. I'm going to do the same thing and just a little dab of yellow in his nose. So that could be it on these guys. I take a wet brush and I just erase my chalk lines. But if you want to do a little bit more detail, the one thing I maybe would do is do a little wash, like I said, around the features. So I would take my small brush. This is a small thing. I've been painting most of it with a little detail brush. I'm taking that same brown. What I used was a burnt sienna, which is the red brown. I mix a little black into it because I really like a dark brown. I want it to really show. So it's a reddish brown with a little tiny bit of black, very watered down. And so what if I went around his eye, say, and gave it a little shadow? Let's see what it looks like. Let's see that it looks a little more dimensional even. I'm doing them both at once, very watery brown. Just like the lines I used to separate the little ridges, then I will take brush, just dry it off. And then you can just soften that a little bit. I'm just softening the edge so it doesn't look like a harsh circle around there. It looks more like a shadow. You could do this around the mouth and the nose if you wanted. And it's just given the eyes, they pop just a little more. Could do that around the nose. We could even like give him cheeks. We could do that. Let's see, I'm going to take that, and if I just go like that, and then just, again, dry off the brush and soften it. It doesn't, so it's not just a line, it's a little softened on those inside of the lines, and see, it looks a little bit like he could have cheeks up here. If he does have cheeks, you could always go in and maybe add a little highlight. We used that yellow to highlight in between our ridges, right? What if I really highlighted right here on him? I'm just dabbing on that gold color, but I want to soften it. I'm going to soften with my brush, and now it's going to almost look like he's got cheeks formed. You know, like he's really not even just a pumpkin shape anymore. He's really taken on the facial features of a shape, which are kind of cool. So he's got kind of a little bit of a look like we were going to do with the man in the moon there. It might look a little yellow when I'm looking at it there in the camera, so I can dry brush a little bit of orange back on. And let's take a look. If there are any questions and what the timing is, we've got about 3 minutes. But yeah, he does look like he's in pain. I live in Massachusetts, Central Mass, Clinton. And like I said, after I leave here, I'm going to travel up to, I have to close my summer place in Maine up, which is sad, but that's all right. It's going to be getting cold. I did not paint my little white highlights on my eyes, which are very, they really just add something to it. So let's do that. So they have that little bit, like I said, of a mid-century look that you see on those kind of scary cat faces and pumpkins and things that you see the papier-mâché pails and whatnot. You could paint them that way, or simply do a bunch of sketches like I showed you. Like you could do, have fun with them. Just make happy, sad. See, the shape of the pumpkins are different. They could be painted on something easily, like this when we painted on. So those can be simple as that. Or you could even go simpler, like I said, and do really just like little black triangle bits and whatnot. And I'm going to start this little guy. We only have a couple of minutes, but I do want to show you the little man in the moon. But also, let me show you. I would put a finish on these guys. They're very dull with the paint. I like them to have a little shine. And I would use either a spray gloss, if you have a clear gloss or clear satin, whatever you want, spray them. Or a brush on like a Mod Podge gloss or satin would also do it. On my Christmas guys, they're actually a little bit of a finish because I painted on glitter, and that gives it a little bit of a shine too. Hey Belinda, thanks for joining in. Remember you guys, if you just popped in, you can watch the replay here on Tinker's Cart Art or Craft Round the Clock. The replay will be there for you when you have time. And we are short on time, so I'm just going to just give you an idea of where I'm going to go with the man in the moon guy. He's all painted yellow. I would sketch on his face. Those guys get like a bit more of a nose formed. And I'm just going to get it started to show you where I'm going to go, and then I will do that after. I give them my big mouths with like red lips. And so I start like that. And that's just chalk, so that just erases. It's very easy. And what we will do is, like we did that wash on the orange pumpkin, I wash in wherever there's a shadow with a goldy color. So we're wrapping up now. I'm going to show you that when it's done. Stay tuned for the next crafter because it's going to be something exciting and fun and all day long. And I appreciate you guys watching. Thank you so much. And thank you, Cindy, for following along. Please let everyone know I'm here painting for you. Bye now. Have a great day.